All right, the New Deal, Roosevelt and relief. FDR, unlike Herbert Hoover, was open to direct relief. So when he is elected, when he takes office, he has Congress authorize the Reconstruction Finance Corporation to give money to the states so that the states can better help people in need. Federal money is going to the states for the states to provide relief to American citizens. He puts Harry Hopkins in charge of the Reconstruction Finance Corporation, and he works diligently to get that money out there. By the end of 1933, the year Roosevelt takes office, direct aid has made it into the hands of 1 out of every 6 Americans. Roosevelt, though, also believes in work relief. He believes that if we can get Americans back to work during the Great Depression, they'll not only gain the money they need to stimulate the economy, but self-respect as well. One of the efforts to get Americans back to work is known as the Civilian Conservation Corps, or the CCC. What this program did was take young urban men and give them a job working for the government on public lands. Oftentimes this was out west, and they were doing things outside, like cutting trails and planting trees and building bridges and repairing roads. Almost every New Deal program is going to build roads. One of the things about the Civilian Conservation Corps was that it provided free room and board to everybody employed by it, and a lot of their money then was able to be sent back to their family in the city. One of the most famous projects that they completed is Red Rocks Natural Amphitheater in Colorado. If you've ever been to Denver, it's just outside, and it's a beautiful theater. Another New Deal program is known as the Public Works Administration, or the PWA, and the PWA planned and funded large public works programs for state and other federal government agencies. They're going to supply the money that's used to pay contractors who hired regular workers. The goal of the PWA, like many New Deal programs, is what Roosevelt calls priming the pump, getting money into the people's hands so they can go out and spend it and stimulate the economy and increase demand. The PWA built roads, they built schools. In fact, they built most of the schools built during the New Deal. They built most of the hospitals during the New Deal. They also built a lot of dams and bridges, and they even built some ships for the U.S. Navy. Some of the more famous projects that they undertook were the Lincoln Tunnel in New York City, as well as the Overseas Highway seen here, and that's the road that you can drive on to get to Key West. The criticism of the PWA, as you can tell here, is that it was too expensive. The Civil Works Administration is another New Deal program that did a lot of similar projects, and they're going to directly hire the unemployed. So this isn't giving money to contractors. This is hiring the unemployed, giving them government jobs, more like the CCC. And some of what they did was temporary work, seasonal work, things like raking leaves that we see here. And for this, the CWA was criticized because you're not really putting people back to work. You're just hiring them for a little while. One of the most famous work relief programs is the Works Progress Administration, or the WPA. And they completed some of the similar construction projects like roads that we've been talking about. They did some conservation projects like the CCC. But they also had a federal theater project, which is a program to put actors and directors and musicians back to work. One of the things that they put on were called the living newspaper, and these were performances, plays that dealt with current issues of the day, and sometimes in a controversial fashion. The WPA also included the Federal Writers Project, which is a program to get writers and historians re-employed. They wrote manuals for things like the New York City Zoo, visitors' guides for different states, and even instructional books on how our government works. The WPA also included the Federal Music Project, which performed concerts and held classes and hosted musical festivals and also employed orchestras. So they offered lessons, they offered concerts, and many things related to music. And we also have the Federal Art Project, which is to put all types of artists back to work. Even unpopular art, like that done by Jackson Pollock, seen here, was paid for by the WPA. And the Federal Art Project pays for a lot of murals around the country. And some of these can still be seen in government buildings like post offices around the nation. Work relief is good. It gets a lot of people jobs, but not nearly enough. Only about 1/3 of the unemployed ever get a government job or get a job through the work relief programs. And additionally, as you can see on this guy's face here, the wages were often too low to really stimulate the economy. Americans are not gaining enough money from these jobs to go out and purchase consumer goods like cars and radios and things like that. However, Roosevelt's relief programs do make the Depression bearable. It's still frustrating, but they make it bearable. And what happens is Roosevelt starts to look to a few more radical alternatives. Roosevelt, with these radical alternatives out there, Roosevelt starts to be even more liberal with his approach to how to solve the Great Depression.